They never threatened you. They never raised their voice. They never did anything you could point to and say, that's the problem. And yet, you walk away from them feeling wrong, confused about things you were certain of, apologizing for things you didn't do, defending yourself in conversations you didn't start. This is what modern manipulation looks like. It doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't announce itself. It operates in the quiet spaces, in pauses, in tones, in patterns you don't see until the damage is already done. There are 7 specific signals, 7 things that happen before you understand what's happening, and once you know what to look for, you will never unsee them. The reason most people miss manipulation is simple. They are looking for the wrong thing. They expect cruelty. They expect aggression. They expect a person who looks like a threat. But the most effective manipulators don't look threatening. They look like the most understanding person in the room, the most patient, the most reasonable. That is the design. Here are the 7 signs. This one is invisible at first. You say something. They don't fight it. They don't disagree. They just redirect. Yeah. Sort of. That's one way to look at it. I think what you're actually trying to say is, there is always a slight correction, a subtle reframe that positions your version of reality as the almost version. Close, but not quite. Good, but not quite good enough. Over time, you stop leading with your own observations. You start second-guessing before you even speak. That is not a personality trait in them. That is a strategy. They are teaching you to distrust yourself, one soft correction at a time.
Pay attention to what happens when they are unhappy, not what they say, what changes. The temperature shifts, everyone moves carefully, conversations get monitored, people start performing, not connecting, performing, to keep the environment stable. This is called ambient control. The manipulator doesn't need to give orders. Their emotional state is the order. Everyone around them has been trained, slowly, quietly, to manage that mood, to anticipate it, to prevent it. You don't realize you're being controlled because no one told you to behave differently. You just started to. That is power without words. That is one of the most sophisticated forms of manipulation that exists. You bring up a problem, a real one, something they did, something that hurt you, something that needs to be addressed. And somehow, by the end of the conversation, you are the one explaining yourself. You came in with a complaint. You leave with a defense. This is not an accident. It is a skill. Watch how they handle being questioned. The manipulator does not absorb accountability. They redirect it. They become wounded. They bring up something unrelated you did 3 months ago. They turn your tone into the issue. They make the conversation about how you brought it up, not about what you brought up. The real problem disappears, and you are left managing their reaction to being confronted with it. If this happens once, it could be a bad moment. If this happens every time, that is the mechanism. This one is strange to describe, but you will recognize it immediately. You feel guilty, genuinely guilty, but you cannot trace it to anything specific. You didn't do anything wrong. You know that. But somehow you still feel like you did. That feeling has an origin. The manipulator has learned to produce guilt without stating a cause, a sigh at the wrong moment, a pause before answering, a look that lasts slightly too long. No, it's fine, really. These are not accidents. They are transmissions. They are designed to make you feel responsible for a harm you didn't cause, so that you work harder, comply faster, or abandon whatever boundary you were holding. Guilt without a source is not your conscience speaking. It is someone else's hand on the controls. The manipulator rarely says, "Stop seeing that person. That's too obvious, too easy to identify." Instead, they express concern. "I just think she brings out a strange side of you. He's not really a good influence, is he? I'm just saying. You always seem off after you spend time with them. They don't forbid, they plant a small seed of doubt about someone you trust, and then another and another, until the people who knew you before them, the people who might notice the changes in you, who might say, 'You don't seem like yourself anymore,' are gone. Not because they left, because you let them drift. Isolation is never announced. It is constructed quietly, over time, until the only consistent voice in your life is theirs. There was a moment, maybe early in the relationship, when you opened up. You told them something private, a fear, a failure, a wound. You trusted them with it. And at the time, it felt like intimacy. Watch what happens to that information later. It may not be used directly. It rarely is. But it appears in a comment that hits too precisely, in a joke that lands exactly where it hurts, in a moment of conflict where they say something that could only wound you, specifically because they know the exact shape of the wound. This is not a coincidence. This is the return on investment. The manipulator is not careless with what you give them. They are strategic. The most intimate things you share with them become the most precise tools they have against you. That is not a relationship. That is an extraction. This is the last one, and it is the most important. Think back to who you were before this person entered your life. Were you more decisive, more confident, more willing to hold a position without immediately wondering if you were wrong? Did you used to trust your own instincts? Did you used to take up more space in conversations? Did you used to feel less like a problem that needed solving? The clearest sign that someone has been manipulating you is not any single behavior. It is the accumulation. You are quieter than you used to be, more careful, more apologetic, more uncertain. And the only consistent variable, the one thing that changed in your life during the period this happened, is them. Your personality is not fragile. It does not erode on its own. When you change that much, that quietly, someone helped. None of this requires a dramatic confrontation. None of this requires a label. What it requires is this: the willingness to look at the pattern, not just the moment. A single incident can be explained. A single bad day can be forgiven. But a consistent architecture, 7 signs pointing in the same direction, that is not a coincidence. That is a structure. And once you see the structure, you can decide whether you are going to keep living inside it. The most dangerous manipulation is not what someone does to you in a single moment. It is what they turn you into over 1,000 quiet ones. Protect the original.